It's Noel from the Enduro Bureau, and welcome to our round 2 recap and analysis of the 2025 Fmsq Canadian National Cross Country Championship from Saint-Michel-des-Saints, Quebec. Let's take a look at how things shook out, and as always, let's get started with the bottom line up front. First, Tyler Medaglia came into round 2 after taking the win at round 1 Sand Trap. This had been his second time racing that venue, and he repeated his 2021 victory there. Medaglia had also raced the Lac round previously in 2021 and won there too on the fast sandy tracks. The Nova Scotian rider came through with the win again this year to solidify his lead at the top of the championship. Medaglia beat out four-time defending series champ Alex Goujon, who had to overcome a brutal start to fight his way through the field to secure his second consecutive P2 finish. Former six-time Fmsq champ Loic Leonard took advantage of a fast start to hold on for P3 ahead of Jake Michaud and Pellerin-Chainé. Medaglia comes out of round 2 with the overall lead, 6 points ahead of Goujon and 10 ahead of Leonard. Michaud and Chainé round out the top 5, 14 and 18 points back respectively. On the pro women's side, it wasn't a shock to see Véronique Pellerin-Chainé come away with a dominant win, but we were once again mightily impressed by Mila Paget, who showed the same speed as she did in round 1, but kept it clean this time to come home in P2 ahead of round 1 fourth place finisher Megan Brodeur. Coming out of round 2, Pellerin-Chainé leads the overall with a perfect 50 points, 10 ahead of Paget and Felicia Robichaud, and 14 ahead of Brodeur. Emma Sharpless rounds out the top 5, just 1 point behind Brodeur. Now let's dig a little deeper into the story behind the race, starting with the pro men. Coming into round 2, it was Medaglia holding the leader's plate and looking forward to a second straight fast sand track that seemed to play right into the former national MX champs wheelhouse. Medaglia had raced at Lac once before in 2021 and had come away with a tight 10-second win over Goujon. Needless to say, he was feeling confident coming into the weekend. Goujon had been disappointed in his ride at round 1, where he had a rough start and a fall early in the first lap that left him in 8th place heading into lap 2. He ran a great race from there, with laps within 97.5 to 99.6% of Medaglia's times over 18 to 19 minute laps. While he showed that he had the pace to run with Medaglia, it was clear that he couldn't afford to start slow and hand Medaglia the lead and a gap early in the race. Unfortunately, the four-time defending champ had a brutal start here at Lac that saw him hit checkpoint 1 in 15th place, already 54.2 seconds down to Medaglia, just 6 minutes into the race. Goujon poured it on, though, and had made it all the way back to 5th by the end of the first lap, but he still had a sizable gap to Medaglia up in the lead, and Leonard in P2 just 10 seconds behind the leader. In data terms, Goujon was roughly 8% slower on lap 1 than the top two, and there's just no getting around that is a sizable hole to dig yourself out of. By the end of lap 2, 40 minutes into the race, Goujon found his pace, but Medaglia was still in sprint mode out front. Leonard was looking solid in second place, but was starting to drop back slightly. At the same time, the rest of the top 6 were battling for position, with Jake Michaud pushing in third place while Chainé and Owen McKill fought it out behind. As we moved into the middle stages of the race, we saw Medaglia finish his long sprint off the start. While Medaglia still did set the fastest time on lap 4, Goujon was able to keep increasing his pace as he got through traffic. He finished the lap at 98.56 of Medaglia's time and then set the fastest times on lap 5 and 6 to take over second place. By this point, however, Medaglia was in full race management mode and was starting to take easier lines to save his body and bike with the knowledge that he had a solid cushion over Goujon. This didn't keep him all the way out of trouble, though, as he nailed a buried rock on an outside line in the roots and rocks section late in the race, ejecting himself from his Yamaha in the process. Concerned about radiator damage and a possible coolant leak, he put it into full preservation mode to bring it home safe for the win. Back with the rest of the contenders, Leonard was fighting to hold off a hard-charging Michaud to hang on to third place. By lap 3, Michaud was running laps at 0.5 to 1.5% faster than Leonard, but it just wasn't enough to bridge the early gap to the six-time champ. Leonard capitalized on that great start and solid race management to bring it home for his second straight P3 finish. Michaud finished up in 4th, the same as round 1, and is looking like a serious overall podium threat. Phil Chainé was making moves late in the race after he had battled back from a poor start that saw him a minute 30 behind the leader after lap 1. Laps 2, 3, and 4 saw him running only the 6th fastest lap times, but he turned it way up for the final 3 laps, running the 3rd, 2nd, and fastest laps over those last 3 respectively. That should help build confidence for the former series champ heading into round 3 at Gopher Dunes. Last year's 4th overall finisher, Owen McKill, has certainly not had the start to the Fmsq season that he was hoping for. A good start on lap 1 saw him in 6th place, but he was never able to build up the consistent speed required to battle for a podium finish. In fact, lap 2 was the only one where he was within 3% of the fastest time. Through the first 2 rounds of the season, we've seen that to be in the conversation for a race or overall podium, you have to be lapping within 3 to 3.5% of the fastest lap time every lap, if not closer. There's no question that McKill has the speed for this. He just hasn't found a way to consistently show it yet. An interesting side note as we wrap up our look at the pro men, we saw an identical finish order for the top 7 in the first 2 rounds. We haven't done the math to see how statistically probable this is, but it sure seems unlikely. Heading over to the pro women's race, it was clear that, as always it seems, Véronique Pellerin-Chainé was the favorite, and she absolutely proved why as she brought home another dominant victory that saw her set the fastest lap for each of the 5 laps and finish with a minute 30 gap over second place. After winning rounds 1 and 2, she's on track to secure another overall FMSQ championship. While we've seen some very minor chinks in her armor in the form of setting the fastest lap times on only 2 of the 5 laps in round 1, someone is going to have to prove that they can beat her consistently to have a shot at taking over her crown. As we mentioned in the bottom line up front, one of the most impressive rides at Lac Taureau came from Mila Paget, who took second place behind Vero. Paget had run an excellent race at round 1 Sand Trap, except for a mid-race crash from second place that cost her a ton of time. She ramped the pace back up over the second half of that race to preserve a 4th place finish, but she had definitely left a big result on the table there. In round 2, she took the whole shot for the second time in a row and was the only rider in any kind of contact with Vero by the end of lap 1 at 19.5 seconds back. As the race progressed, though, those lap time differences dropped. 12.5 seconds on lap 2 and just 3.5 seconds on lap 3. While the gaps went back up a bit over the final 2 laps, Paget demonstrated speed and race management skills that could see her push for a second overall in the series, which would be a tremendous result for this young talent who picked up only her first ever FMSQ podium here in round 2. Megan Brodeur improved her pace from a round 1 P5 finish to come home in 3rd at Lac Taureau. While Brodeur didn't consistently run P3 lap times, she was consistent enough to land on that final podium step. While she had showed us flashes of that P3 speed in round 1, she seemed to have hit the wall there on the final 3 laps. This wasn't the case at round 2, as she ran the 3rd fastest lap time of the final lap to hold off round 2 second place finisher Félicia Robichaud by 11.8 seconds. Robichaud had run very well through the middle laps of the race, but it wasn't enough to reel in Paget or Brodeur. We know from round 1 that she has the speed, and we expect to see her consistency improve as she works her way back into race fitness from an injury sustained in the 2024 season. 2024 FMSQ second place overall finisher Emma Sharpless had a tough round 2 as she ended up in P6. After finishing lap 1 in 3rd, she had a big crash on lap 2 that was hard enough to force her into preservation mode for the rest of the race. She did a good job to salvage that 6th place and hold on to 5th overall, just 5 points away from the 2-way tie for second between Paget and Robichaud. A special shout out to 5th place finisher Maud Filiatro. Maud had a very up and down start to the race, but showed some serious speed with a 3rd fastest lap 3 and a 2nd fastest final lap. If she can find a way to run those speeds consistently, she could easily be a podium threat in the series. For round 3, we moved to a new race venue for FMSQ at the legendary Gopher Dunes MX facility in southwest Ontario. The bad news for the pro men is that this is another fast track that Tyler Medaglia is very familiar with from his MX days. We know that the race is likely going to include portions of the MX tracks there, and that's going to be a big advantage to Medaglia. Medaglia also won there last year over Goujon in Off-Road Ontario doubleheader weekend. Also in the pro men, we're going to see an FMSQ debut from Alberta-based Dylan Kalin. Kalin ran his first off-road race ever at the first round of the SOR Sprint Enduro Championship at the beginning of April this year, and managed to win it ahead of Owen McKill. He and McKill have traded round wins in that series over the first 3 rounds, and they'll be in another dogfight this weekend at round 4. Kalin is a longtime national MX racer and has incredible ground speed to go with his quickly emerging technical skills. He also has long-range fitness, as he showed at the AMSA Porkies XC race with a 3rd place finish behind Jason Schrag and Kevin Dupuis. Porkies is a very long, very brutal race in the foothills of the Canadian Rockies. So putting that all together, watch out for Kalin to challenge for a podium finish at his first FMSQ. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to keep an eye out for our SOR Round 4 coverage this weekend before we're back next weekend for FMSQ Round 3. Our FMSQ coverage is brought to you by STP 1958, your one-stop shop for engines, clutches, engine rebuilds, and parts. Check them out on the web at stp1958.com or on social media at stp1958.